All right, guys. Welcome to another talk with a coach. Whatever we want to catch, we gotta
Ask a coach.
Ask a coach. Today's topic, we're going to talk about the kind of, I guess, misconception, if you will, that a lot of people view training as an expense and not an investment.
An add-on, right?
Yeah, an add-on to kind of everything else that they have going on. It's just another thing that I have to pay for. And what we're going to talk about today is our biggest kind of, I guess for lack of a better word, excuses that we run into in this kind of performance realm that we work in. And the first one that we're going to talk about is, especially for athletes, that, you know what, our coach ends practice 10 minutes early and we do our push-ups and crunches. That's enough. That's what I'm getting. We get that a lot, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Everyone says, oh, well, we do some of that stuff. Swimming, they call it dry land, or hockey, they call it dry land too. It doesn't matter what the sport is. Every coach, at some level, they see the value of like, oh, we should work on some strength or some conditioning, and they try and throw it in as an afterthought, like it's just this thing you can do.
Right.
But the problem is that movement and strength is a skill. It's not something that you can just, workhorse your way through. It's something that requires practice and intentional thought and really high quality reps. So when we look at training, we're thinking about training in terms of the movement, the quality of your overall capacity to interact with the world around you, whether it's sports or just day-to-day life. There's a reason that every single professional college, whether it doesn't matter what level it's at, has a dedicated strength and conditioning facility team. I mean, everyone wants to wear Messi's socks with the thing on them, like, those little sticky pads.
No.
Everyone wants to wear those, but no one wants to go and do the strength training. And I guarantee you they've got a lot of time and energy spent into developing that. So it's not something you can just do when you're fatigued and throw in at the end of practice. It's not going to cut it. You have to take the time to prioritize it, just like every other person is a professional or highly qualified in your sport or discipline.
Right. So what you mentioned earlier in that was that it's more, so strength it's a skill. Movement and strength is a skill. And so that correlates back to that bucket talk that we had 2 talks ago. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, so a lot of times it's great, and a great analogy. A lot of times people will come and say, obviously everyone's got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they think, well, shouldn't I spend more time on my skill work? Shouldn't I go to soccer practice more? Shouldn't I do, in this off-season development program or whatever it is? But the problem is if you remember a bucket analogy, we want you to think about there's 3 buckets. 2, they're concentric, so they're inside one another. The smallest bucket within that is your sports skill, right? And that can only get as big as the next biggest bucket, which is your athletic development, physical capability, which can only get as big as your health and
general health, right?
Yeah. So working backwards, if you're not taking care of your nutrition, your sleep, your recovery, your overall just capacity to keep your joints functioning well, that health bucket's going to be limited. So no matter what you do, that's your limiting factor. Then within that, if you're not working on your speed, your strength, your coordination, your balance, your movement capacity, that's going to limit your sports skills. So sure, go dribble some soccer balls and do whatever you want another 20 hours a week, but you will never get better. If you can't get to the ball on the field, or you can't jump high enough or throw hard enough, that's it. You're stuck. So the sport specific is important, but it's within the context of athletic and physical development and then your overall health, right? So you have to think about the fact that it's more than just your sports skill that's at play in factor.
Right. So let's go to the next one and this is for not just our kind of career field or whatnot, but we see a lot of, I don't have enough time. Okay. And you have this, obviously not this idea, but how we kind of approach things is that if it's important, you'll make time for it.
That's the fact. That's plain and simple. If something's important to you, you will make time for it. That is it. And if something didn't happen last week, it wasn't important enough to you. And the analogy I want you to think about is, let's say you're driving home and you get in a car crash today and you're bleeding out. The doctors come, or the EMT, the doctors, they come get you, put you in an ambulance, where you say, we got to take you to the hospital or you're going to die. What are you going to say? I don't have time for that. I got busy stuff. I got soccer practice today. I got to go to work or whatever it is. You make time for what's important. And at the end of the day, if you don't fully believe that the performance training and working on your overall health is important, it's not going to happen. So the real thing is, if you're saying you don't have time, you're saying you haven't understood the importance of this portion. And if you're going to spend any amount of time going to soccer or football or volleyball practice, why not look at the capacity of your overall movement? So take that objection away and just say, it's not that important to me. I'd rather hear that than hear someone say we don't have time. Because you'll make time if it's important.
Of course. And so
what's the other one?
The last one, probably the biggest one that we get, is it's too expensive. It's too expensive. But let's take a step back and let's ask ourselves, it's expensive compared to what?
That's the question you got to ask yourself, because yes, it is an expense on top of your training, your dues for your club, on top of the uniform, on top of the gas, the transportation, the hotels, everything else you're doing, or let's say you're doing extra sport curriculum to work on the skills. It's all money. It all comes from somewhere, right? But the question you got to ask is, it's expensive compared to what? And that's what we look at. So my wife is a financial planner. She's a fiduciary, which is this big word that I figured out, learned over time. I had to Google it because she didn't tell me. It means that they do what's in the best interest of the client, right? And so when you're working with someone in a training context, we are going to be the least biased people you'll ever train with, because we don't have any ego wrapped up in what sport you play, what position you play, how well you play. We want you to be healthy and to be capable and to love what you do. That is literally all we care about. And if you're not healthy, if you're in pain, if you don't love what you do, if you're not enjoying it and being successful, then we change what we're doing. We fix that, right? But we're not your coach who's going to focus on, you need to do this so I can have this win. We don't have any of that. So we're working for the most important part, which is keeping you healthy and safe.
Right.
So what I want you to look at is stepping back and saying, we're not asking for you to come and pat our pockets. You need our help in terms of staying healthy and safe more than we need your money.
We realize that coming to us is an extra X amount of money per month, per session, whatever it may be. But let's compare that to a torn ACL.
Yep.
Where you have, if it happens, you have the transportation fee to the hospital, the surgery, the equipment that was used. You have all these expenses.
The braces, keep going. The braces, the doctor's visits, the PT visits, the time in between, the driving, the missed practices, the missed games, the missed tournaments. No one wants to think about that, right? But it all adds up. And if you don't take the time to preemptively work to kind of prevent that from happening, it's going to happen. And those things, no one wants to talk about that. But the reality is people are 2 times as likely to move away from pain as they are to move towards pleasure. So people look and go, oh, training is good if I want to get faster. No, this is to keep you healthy. And we are keeping you out of that. But don't wait till you're already in pain, you've already got arthritis, you've already got a knee surgery, and then I'm going to skip the training and go back to sport. For what? To get hurt again? I get amped up, but this is what makes me so angry, because it's a part of the whole process. You can't just go to school when you're in 4th grade and say, I'm going to be a math major, so I'm not doing reading. I don't need to learn how to write. Whatever science, who needs that? But you can't do that. So why would you think about training like you could just skip the portion that keeps you healthy?
Right.
We could hurt somebody. But think about the cost, not just the money, but the time, the missed opportunities, the missed experiences, and factor that in when you think about, I could do training. That's a whole hour a week, and that's another $100 a month.
Compare that to sitting on your butt for 3 weeks and then going to physical therapy for another X amount of months.
People with ACL surgeries, there's a 80 to 90% early onset of arthritis from the joint. It's not just a thing you do and you get over it. It's a lifelong thing. The more you can prevent this stuff, there are unneeded, non-contact overuse injuries that happen every day you don't need to have. So stop prioritizing volume and all this flashy stuff that someone else wants, and start focusing on yourself and taking care of that, or you'll pay for the prices sometime.
Right.
And again, we don't say that because we need it. We don't need the money. We don't need you to do something. We care about you, and that should be your relationship with every coach and trainer. And if that's not, find someone else, because they're obviously messed up.
Of course. And we know a place where you can get for relationships.
Tell them.
Here, me, Graham, Caitlin, Brandon.
What's it called?
Any of us. Sport HQ.
There you go.
All right, guys. So that is our challenge to you. We want you to think of training not as an expense, but as an investment. We realize that these things pops up. These thoughts pop up into your head. It's too expensive. I don't have time. My coach, we do the 10 minutes afterwards. And I really, again, another challenge is movement and skill. Movement and strength is a skill. Mm-hmm. Okay, it isn't just something that you feel like you can just, I'll push it to the side, I'll get to it eventually. It's something that has to be a priority, all right? So that is our challenge to you. Training is not an expense. Think of it as an investment in your future, all right?
Take care.
See you guys next time.
Sounds good. Bye. I gotta go yell at something now.